All right, welcome to the show, guys. We're back with another show. Sitting here with Mr. Jesse and Mr. Lito Esquivel. Two very special guests. We got two veterans on the squad. Sorry to call you guys that, but I'm right there along with them, no problem. We'll start with Lito. Lito's been a super cool guy to kind of look up to. He's about maybe 4 years older than me. Super cool guy in the community of Grand Rapids, and he's been there around Ole's time since the beginning. I think he's been with Fabian. Mm-hmm. He's been coaching with Fabian since about 16 years old, I think. Played at Western Michigan and then went to Davenport University. Ended up being a national champion there. I think he had an assist in the finals of national championship.
Yeah, that was fun.
Big applause, big applause. One of the most balanced soccer, indoor, futsal players to grace Grand Rapids. I think he's got a special game to him, and comes with a wealth of knowledge for futsal and Ole soccer here. Thanks for being here, man.
Man, thanks for having us.
Yeah, man. So a quick question for you, man. Excited to see you playing again. I feel like you took a little break and now you're back into being in shape. You've been running. I know you've been steady keeping in shape for these times, man.
Yeah.
How long did you have to think about joining this team when Fabian asked you? How'd that all go down? Did he give you a phone call?
No, it was actually pretty cool how it started back up again. So, I mean, I don't know how much you guys know or whatnot, but me, I've always said it, like, without Ole, there wouldn't be like anything. Like, to me, Ole is the OG of everything. And obviously when we ended, Ole wasn't around, but I still took a lot of pride in it. So when I made any tournament team, I always call it Ole, call it Ole, call it Ole. Then I think it was this past summer, I was just talking to Fabian, and we're just like, hey, like, we should bring the social media back, and just post some of these tournaments that we go to, whatnot, and this and that. And you fast forward a few months, and him and I were having conversations of having, I guess him and I wanted a little more freedom with what we do with the men's team. Instead of asking anyone anything, we wanted just to have the full control. So yeah, little did we know it just ended up taking that route, and him and I were the ones who initiated everything and kind of decided just to go the Ole route, and yeah, kind of been with him again from this start, 2021.
Yeah, man, it's cool. It kind of came back around because, I don't know, Ole kind of went away, and it was like, man, like, now it's Fabian at MFA and whatever. So it's cool to kind of see that OG Ole, and like,
yeah, I
don't know, there's something different about that Latican culture, that, like, I don't know, street, Burton Heights, like that feel to it. So it's cool, man.
Agreed.
So with Jesse, it's gonna go a little bit differently for you, man. I know Jesse pretty well, so I can roast you a little bit.
I'll back you up.
Yeah, that's it, man. At the top of his list of achievements, probably the best player coach in the Hispanic League. He's been called the Sergio Busquets of futsal by maybe just me, but I think there's some truth to it. Jesse played soccer at Davenport, and then he ended up playing for the U.S. men's national futsal team. Represented USA in a number of countries. We'll get to that a little bit later on. And just to add to that, a great coach, a great player, great example for young kids and anybody that you've kind of been interacting with here in Grand Rapids. Excited to watch you play, man. This is it's been a while since I've watched both of you guys play in like an actual match, and you guys got to be ready for and actually be fit, not just Sunday league, whatnot. Right?
Yeah.
Be super dope. I wanted to start with your guys' work. You guys are co-workers. You guys work where?
IMLA, immigration law firm.
IMLA. And how'd you guys get into that? What do they do, and what do you guys do?
So when I joined MFA, our boss, Susan, she asked me one time, I believe, to come in and fill in for someone that was going out on spring break or something like that. So I actually started that route. I think I came in for like 3 or 4 weeks, and then I still was a director at MFA for a bit. And then after that, she asked me if I wanted to come on more like a part-time role. I continued to help out a little bit. So that's how it all started with me. And then I think after that, when you were moving back from Chicago,
Yeah, I actually went to, I asked him if he knew anyone, because I needed a lawyer for immigration purposes. And anyway, I went to a consult with Susan, and we kind of ended up hitting it off to the point where I was looking for a job, and she offered it to me, and never really looked back since. So now I just do the accounting side of the law firm, and that's like all I do, just kind of the numbers, and whatnot. And he's a paralegal.
Yeah, and he works remotely, so he's at home most of the time. And then
Can't
I
beat
work.
that.
Yeah,
COVID game.
I work in the office. It's a little harder for me to be remote because we have to be touching the files, and that goes on to our next point. I mean, we do employment-based cases. We do some family-based cases. We did a little bit more back then, but we've been so busy with employment-based immigration that sort of took its own turn. And we've been, I would say, like 90-10 employment-based, right?
Yeah.
Probably. But we still do some family-based stuff, naturalizations, green cards, obviously, stuff like that for the family-based side.
For anybody that's watching, you know where to go. And she's also a sponsor of the team, the law firm. Tell me a little bit about Susan. She seems like I don't know, I always see her around. She's kind of smiling. She seems like good people. I've never really formally met her, but tell me a little bit about who she is.
I think that's probably what everyone says about her. I think whenever anyone thinks about Susan, they think about smiling. She's everywhere she goes, she's always smiling. Like, she'll walk into a room and she'll automatically like brighten up the room and people's moods. And yeah, I've never heard one person say anything negative about her. It's always, I mean, everyone loves her. So that's how I think everyone sees her, and that's how I see her as well. I know what you think.
Just to add to that, to me, she's it's kind of weird how life goes. She came into my life at a perfect time, and to the point where now I consider her obviously a boss, but also a friend and a mentor. I've learned so much about her. It's kind of crazy, and yeah, just to think that the good of a person that she is, despite being a lawyer, successful and whatnot, it's insane to me. Yeah.
She seems like great people, man. All right, so you guys have kind of been with Fabian since the beginning. Can you guys put into words his impact on, and I'll call it soccer, just the umbrella of soccer, and maybe futsal is under it, but what is his impact on like West Michigan soccer?
Oof. That's tough, but I mean, to me there's so many different aspects, because I think first it starts with the coaching perspective. Like, he's developed so many, it's the reason I'm here, and
Same.
Players and coaches, it's just endless. So I think the impact on West Michigan soccer is outside of just a playing style, because he's brought up so many coaches that have played for him, and then you talk about the actual playing style, and he's brought up this, it's just a different type of style that I don't think was there before. Before he started coaching, I think. So those are probably the two biggest things, but I'll let Lito add to that.
Yeah, for me, I would say he's always been the same, which is tough.
Man,
ever since I've known him for 15 plus years, when I started coaching or whatever, I still remember meeting him and why I got into coaching, because of him doing camps for Olay, and he just always kept it the same. No matter, he's changed his environment, he's changed his people he's worked with, whatever, but it's always been consistently him, and to me that's huge, because it shows that it's the real him.
Yeah, man, I agree with that.
A lot of coaches in West Michigan, or even in the region or whatnot, they change, they do different things, whatever, but I think he's always stayed true to himself, his beliefs, and to me that's the coolest and the best thing about him.
Yeah, for sure. What has your guys' relationship been with Fabian, and kind of how has he impacted I guess your route within soccer, and like why do you guys come back around to Olay, like this community?
For me, I started playing for Fabian since I was 15. So I went, my relationship has been, I was his player. I still am his player, because obviously I play for him in the men's team. And and then I saw him as a mentor for my coaching. And then it also outside of the field, I saw him as a really good friend. I mean, I consider him one of my best friends in a different way than like my relationship with you, but now it's also a business partner because we have this whole school of futsal thing. But I think one of the things that I really credit Fabian for outside of, and it's huge for me, like in my personal life that I credit him for, is me becoming, I call it self-aware. I think he constantly sends us videos, not only like me and Lito, but he constantly posts on our coaches group chat and sends every coach videos to try and get themselves to understand a little bit more on who they actually are, not just in a coaching world, but also in the real world. Because if you know who you are in the real world, then it's only going to help you in the coaching world. Right. So I think for me, like the relationship that we've had has just grown over the years and it's just changed in so many different ways. But I think the best thing out of all of it has been the relationship that I've developed with him outside of the courts and just like helping each other become better people, I think.
For sure. Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, just like what Lito said about that authenticity, like you can't really be authentic to yourself if you don't really know who you are. So like that self-awareness, and I know Jesse's kind of brought up the Enneagram to me a few times, and kind of just your personality type and what your story is and kind of how it affects your life and, you know, your decision making, whatever. I think it's super cool, man. Like, and to start that young, like, and to have somebody that's, you know, walked these same footsteps and is a Mexican American and, you know, plays soccer, like just that vehicle, that communication, and then using soccer as like a vehicle to coach other kids. And then he's a cool guy too, you know, like, and he listens to the same music as you. So it's, I don't know, man, he's a monster, but
yeah, so for me, I guess it was, not a lot of people know this, but so I started with Fabian, obviously, and then I left Fabian, Ole, whatever you want to call it, but not necessarily by choice. It was one of those, long story short, contracts. When Ole finished and they merged with another club, I was lied to, unfortunately, about my contract. So I didn't want to go and be a part of that. And good thing I didn't, because would you guys last like 3 months there at that club, 4 months?
Yeah, something like that.
And then ended up folding. But anyway, so that's when I left to another club, to Midwest United. And then from there, just kind of spontaneously wanted to move to Chicago. But then after Chicago, I always knew that I was going to, you know, eventually come back and coach again with Fabian, coach again with Jesse. And coming back, my decision to come back to ABK to be with Fabian again was to not coach outdoor anymore. So I don't coach outdoor at all. I just do futsal in the winter, and something personal reasons, you know, that I wanted to stop coaching outdoor. But like to me it feels right, like coaching with him again, being by his side, being a director with him, you know, helping him, you know, grow ABK, you know, now grow Ole. It feels comfortable. It doesn't feel like a job. It doesn't feel like I'm having to come here without wanting to, you know. And at other clubs, I did feel like that. So for me to feel that comfort, you know, to not only be able to coach with him, but to be able to talk to him about rap, to be able to talk about the Enneagram, to be able to talk to him about whatever, really, like it's been a really cool process. And he's same, like I consider him, you know, one of my really good friends, and yeah, just it feels
even business wise, like he's a straight shooter, man. You know, he's gonna be fair, like
yeah.
Man. And that's really important, especially in like the game that soccer's turned into now, like and he wants to get everyone involved, you know, doesn't want to like cut corners first of all and like cut people out, you know. He wants everyone to kind of be, you know, if someone can't afford it or something, like he's going to figure out a way, and he's always kind of been that way. How much of your guys' coaching styles is like similar to Fabian's? Like,
oh man, I'm like the opposite.
In terms, right? Yeah, because like Jesse, I feel like is more similar to Fabian. Maybe you yell at the players a little bit more, but I guess in terms of the mental side, or like how you guys approach players and how you guys like the energy and like managing players, how do you guys go about all that? And is it very similar to what he does?
I mean, when I started coaching, Lito was really involved, and Fabian was super involved, obviously. And I would say my style of coaching And when I say my style, I think there's like two different things I wanted to like quickly touch on. One is the way you go out there and the way you talk, your hand gestures, like the stuff that you do. It's actually really close to how Lito coaches, because I grew up watching him coach a ton.
Yeah.
And it's also how Fabian coaches. So a lot of the stuff that I naturally do with my body, the way I like show kids things or stuff like that, I've seen that from Lito and from Fabian. So like it's a mixture of both. I think it's also the other part of it is, like you said, like how you talk to your players, the corrections that you make. I think that's also a mix of both, and then a little bit of like my stuff that I've created and developed over the years. So I think my style is like, I would say, very a mix of like Lito and Fabian's. But I'm more, I yell at the players. I feel that when I need to. I wouldn't consider myself as like a mean coach or a coach that needs to always yell at their players. I think I try to get them to believe in themselves, not by like yelling at them, but by talking to them on the sidelines, bringing them and saying like, hey, you need to be confident, try this, do this. Like, I'm believing you, you believe in yourself. So I'm more like of that type of coach. And I think that, again, that comes from like watching Lito and Fabian so many years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even I feel that too, like just tone of voice or like how you project things. Or,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, with me, it's funny because I think it's really different, our style of coaching, but at the same time, I think it's really similar to the sense where we obviously try to, there's different ways to get the best out of kids, right? He does it in a completely different way, I do it in a completely different way, but it works, right? It works for him and it works for me. But I think one of the things that I've learned from him is to be able to, and I learned this at a really young age, is that you can't talk to every kid the same, right? Like everyone is different. And him being almost a more introvert, right? Like to the point where he yells, right? But I guess what I'm trying to get at is that I show a lot of passion when I coach, because I care about the kids, because I wish that I was out there on the court helping them, or like doing these things, for them and whatnot. So that's why I get really passionate about it. But with him, it's a little different because he cares, obviously. He wants to get the most out of it, but he just does it like in a such different way. And it's been so cool to see that with him, because I've definitely picked up on things, that he does, or little things that that are just so different between him and I, that I want to go, more his way. And one of the things that I'll never forget, and this is actually pretty cool in my eyes. We were at Nationals. We were coaching. He was assisting me with the 01s, which ironically now is Sammy, Chris, those guys that are playing with Ed, those guys that are playing with our team now. Anyway, I think it was like a semi or something, and my coaching relationship with Sammy has definitely had its up and downs. It's definitely been, for the most part, good. But I'll never forget, this is my one time that I really regret doing what I did as a coach. We were probably like losing or something, and Sammy was probably like 11 or 12, and all I remember is just embarrassing him pretty bad, to the point where he felt bad because he was like kind of hurt, and I said, well, if you're hurt, come out. And I just got caught up in the moment. Right. And that's the one time where I remember Fabian looking at me, and like he grabbed me, he was like, hey, chill out. And like for Fabian to like say that, it's like, and I looked at him and I was like, yeah, you're right.
He's
like,
serious
this
about
passion
certain things.
can only go so long. And I remember halftime coming up, and in front of the whole team, I apologized, to Sammy, and I was like, hey, like that was wrong. I'm so sorry, like this and that. And that it's just instances like that just helped me and shaped me be the coach that I am today. Until that day, like he's been my brother, and it's funny now to say it, but I've never embarrassed a kid, and I don't plan on it, that at all, because that was uncalled for.
Yeah, I think, and it's a lot of that confidence, or like, I'm gonna say like being kind of a know-it-all. For me, it's like, it's that weird balance, but like he's always been like a know-it-some. Like he's very tentative on like what he actually says, but when he says it, you're like, oh damn, like
everybody listens.
This dude, he's got something to say. Like listen to what he's saying. So how is it with your brother Sammy? How's, like, you're not on the team with him now, like, because one thing is to coach and be outside and you're not like so involved in the game, but then you start playing on the field. Like, how does that change? Have you?
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy, man. So a little backstory on Sammy and I, right, on our lives. Obviously, he was born, my brother, right? Then when he was about 11 or 12, my parents got divorced, so it was more of I had to be like a father figure to him.
You guys
so
are how old? And
so we're we're 11 years apart.
wow.
Yeah. So
I'm 10 years apart.
10?
Yeah.
Got it. So yeah, he parents got divorced, so I had to be like a father figure, right? And then after that, once he started to get a little older, once he started wearing a bigger shoe size than me, once he started to grow and whatnot, yeah. I started to we started kind of treat each other almost like as friends, right? And it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then now him and I just live together, and now it's almost like we're roommates, you know? So that whole process outside of soccer, I think, has really helped me realize what it's like to actually play with him now on the same team, because there's definitely been a few times, just like I did with coaching, right? There's been a few times where I've had to catch myself and say, hey, you need to chill out. Like, this kid, he's a grown adult,
right,
and not even
still your little brother, but
yeah, no, but in a sense more of to shape him out to be the player who I think he can become, right? Because if he sees me tripping out, or if he sees me losing my composure, losing my control, I mean, more than likely he's gonna go there and actually do it. And I guess I'm just trying to tell him what I would have liked to heard when I was 20, you know,
Yeah.
and because to me that's the biggest thing. So now, I mean, playing with him, it's sweet, man. Like it's something that I thought could happen, but I didn't realize how cool it would be. So like, for example, now the past month or so, or 2-3 weeks, he's been injured, but he's still been here. You know, he's still been a part of it. He's just so passionate, and I know he's passionate partly because he plays, you know, on the same team as me, and playing with all these guys that, you know, he's played with for the longest time. So to me, words can't explain, you know, playing with him and being on the same team as him, and just having like a really, really good team, you know, to be a part of with him. It's been sweet. And last year, when we were gonna have the season, but then it got canceled, I was really bummed out, because I didn't think that I would get this opportunity again to play with him. So now we're having here, and so we're trying to make the most out of it for sure. And yeah, it's sweet, man.
It gets weird in these years, man. And like, I don't know how much he realizes it, but yeah, he's gonna walk away from it later on and like, dang, like I really got to play with my brother type. Like for you, it's different. Like you see it, like you're like, man, like who knows if I get this opportunity again. Yeah. But
it's a perfect way to say it.
He's a wise man. I think he understands that relationship and like how special it is. So
yeah,
it's dope. So I was gonna ask you guys about kind of your heroes. So Lito, you're probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years older than us.
I'm 31. Yeah, this is the second time you asked. Let me just tell you my
31.
age.
All right.
Oldest one on the team.
This is the veteran. The veteran.
Veteran. It's kind of weird to think about it too.
I know, right?
Because I don't feel that old, you know.
Yeah, no. Mentally, I think we're all pretty young, but yeah, our bodies, man.
Oh yeah, let's not talk about that.
But so I wanted to talk about just heroes in general, and like, I don't know. Lately, I've just been kind of looking at this soccer scene as like a community, and everyone kind of, like, even we saw it with, you know, being a Lil Wayne fan and, you know, all this, like, we're taking notes from the older people, like, as we're growing up. So I wanted to ask you guys, like, who your guys' hero were. I guess for me, it was always like, you know, Lito, Gio, Ruben, even Christian and Zeke, like Fabian, Eddie, like all them dudes were like men, like gods, you know, type of thing. Who was it for you, Lito? Like that was before my time, you know. Like who were you looking up to?
It's a good question. I think only one person comes to mind, and it's funny because I got to know I knew this person on the soccer fields, and then later in life I got to know him as a person, and now I consider him like a dad, and that's Joey Baroni. He was one that, before I knew Mark and Dominic, you know, their sons, my best friends, I would see him, and I would see the passion he would play with. I would see all the problems he would get in. I would see how involved he was with the team, and I would see like his actions and everything. And then after I got to know him off the field, I got to realize a lot. And I got to realize a lot, not only of why he did certain things that he did on the field, but also who he really is as a person, what really means, you know, the world to him. Yeah. And just seeing that, and to me, it's one thing to consider someone, you know, a role model or a hero or whatever just on the field, but to me, if I'm gonna consider someone and I'm gonna look up to someone like that, you have to have it off the field too, you know, for me to actually put you on a pedestal. So to me, he's like the only one that really comes to mind that I consider like, hey man, like this guy, he's goals, you know, or whatnot. Just the way he carries himself, the way he does things, the way he handles situations. He's my one.
He's got 4 boys, man. Yeah, Joey was my coach for 2 or 3 years at Crew, back when it was Crew. And yeah, man, passionate, like, always getting, kicked out of games and whatnot. And you're like, and then you meet him outside of soccer and you're like, this isn't the same person, man. He is, man, one of the nicest dudes ever, man. I'll always like sit down and have a nice chat with you. Like, always has time for people. But yeah, man, Joey's a... And
I think one of the coolest things is that when you ask, and it's funny too with that, because he never got to coach me because I was always an age group younger than everyone because of the August 1st birthday or whatever. But if you ask anyone that has been coached by him, they'll tell you the same thing. They'll tell you, he was tough with me, he was angry, but he always wanted to get the best out of me. He always cared outside of the field. He would always, be so relatable, in a way to you. And I mean, what's better than not to only affect kids on the field, on the court, but also, outside of the field, outside of the court.
For sure. I still remember Joey one time at practice, he would always yell at us, he wanted the most out of us. And he said one time, he's like, man, like, I'm not yelling at you guys to make you feel bad or whatever. Like, I'm not going to yell at Giuseppe. He'd always bring that, like, I would never yell at Giuseppe because to go dunk a basketball. Like, I'm telling you this because I know you can do this. Like, so it was, I don't know, that always stuck with me, man. And he wants the most out of what you want,
Always.
And I also remember one time, Lito, you said, I don't know if we were on the same team, maybe it was when we went to Kansas or whatever, that for nationals, but you would always say, like, don't think so much, just play. Like, I don't know if you remember, if you still use that. But,
I do.
What does that mean to you? Like, don't think so much, just play.
Yeah, I think we get so caught up in a world where perfect example, like I think of Brazilians, right? They don't think, man. They just play. And I feel like when you just play, you're out there, you're enjoying it. You're just doing what you love. You're doing it because you're happy. You're not doing it because you want to yell at someone or because you want to get into someone's face or you want to kick someone. You're doing it to have fun with it, to enjoy it, to bring happiness. And I think that's my thing. And I mean, when you're like that, it just brings out the creativity. It brings out the cool shit to, megs and goals.
Flow state, man.
Yeah.
And that's all. Like, it always brings back to, like, you think of, like, what player is that? Everyone's gonna say Ronaldinho.
Yeah.
And, like, that is that playing style of, like, eu jogo com música na cabeça, like, play with music in your head. And I feel that, like, when I'm playing my best and in that flow state, I have like a tune going in my head about, I don't know how this.
All right, man. Yeah.
But once you feel free to do whatever you want, then it's like feeling flowy, dancing on the field pretty much. But yeah, that quote has always stuck with me. So yeah, I wanted to bring up some guilty pleasures. You guys, so these 12 prompted questions or whatever. Jesse, do you remember yours?
Guilty pleasures?
Yeah, so I asked you guys.
Is that the soft hands?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember some of mine.
We can quote you here, Jesse, if you don't want to talk about it, no problem. He said, hands. I like soft hands. That's why I love Aaron.
Oh.
In parentheses, my fiance.
Yeah, yes, I did.
Big fan of hands. Lito, do you remember yours?
I do. One of them was Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore?
Yeah, dude. Every Thursday, man, at Western, we'd get a Jersey Shore watch party, man.
Oh my God.
T-shirt time, Cavs are here. We'd watch Jersey Shore for like, I don't know, 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever the episode was, and then Thursday we just go out. Yeah, go out.
So now that we got that out the way, that was an important question I needed to ask. How was representing USA on the national team? First start on kind of where you went, is you traveled to a few different countries, and then kind of just that level of play, like what did you learn from all that?
Honestly, like I look back at that and I think at that moment, like I didn't really know what it meant. Like I didn't know how much it meant to represent like our country. And all the players on the team played pro indoor, other than like me and a younger kid actually that he's 3 years younger than me that was coming from Texas. His name's Angel. I think at that moment, like, I had no idea what I was even getting into and how to handle it, or I just went to go play, you know, and I think if I was to do it again, I'd be mentally prepared a little bit better. Obviously, I'm older, I see different things, but I think at that time it was just like, oh, I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna go play for the US. Like, I just, you know, we just went to go do it with no thought, and it was sweet. It was, I think I've learned more from those moments of playing in those games than I have in like all my years of coaching or doing anything with futsal, because I saw so many things that like we just don't even do here in this country. And I'm talking about playing, the playing style, the coaching, the way players do things. Like the only time now I can remember seeing this, but I didn't play against them, is now when Fabian and I go on these international trips and we got to watch like the pro Barca team play, or when me and Lito actually played against like the second team. But to play, I think it was like 10 games against that, and like the level, I think is how I've learned the most. And I think after that, after those trips, I came back and I took so much of the things that I learned into my coaching, into the way I taught things. So I think those trips like are a huge influence for me, not only in playing, but also in coaching. But now I look back at it and I'm like, man, I wish I would have learned how to enjoy that moment a little bit more, take it with more passion, take it with more care, and you know, maybe like while I was on the trip, write down these things that are happening.
Moments are so fleeting, yeah.
Yeah, and I think now I watch it's a little tough for me now because I watched the national team play this past World Cup qualifier and in the World Cup, and Lito actually gives me a hard time about this, and I know that I can be better than some of those players that I'm playing, and that's not a doubt in my head, but I know I am not better than them at this moment because, you know, I haven't been playing as much, training as much, running as much. I have different goals in life, yeah. But watching them this past World Cup, I was just like, man, you know, I can easily be out there. And I think for me, I've battled with that a little bit within these last couple months because now this Olay thing came back. It's a different thing, and there's a part of me that wants to be back there, you know. And like,
of course, man.
Yeah,
makes me smile.
and there was actually, I would say, like probably last year during COVID, I sent Lito a long message about, yeah, I don't know if playing is like, I don't know if I'm passionate about it anymore. Like, I don't know if I care about that anymore. I have different ambitions, different goals. But now watching after this World Cup, I was like, man, no, I want to play in the next World Cup if we make it. Like, I want to be back out there.
But the bug got you, man.
Yeah, and I think so. Like, looking back at that experience and where I'm at now, you know, I think it was a big shape in like who I am and everything. And there was so many things that were going on. Like at that time, it's when they won nationals on one of the trips that I went. I think they won nationals. Like, I hurt my MCL, so I was in tears because I couldn't make the trip to go to nationals with them. And then right after that, like, I ended up making the team after we went to the combine. So it was a big part of my life because of what I was going through at that time. And like making the team after that combine was just like, man, like I can be good.
All the bumps in the road and everything you learned from,
yeah. So it was a lot of things, but the trip itself, it was awesome.
So you went to what countries?
We first played in Costa Rica, and in Costa Rica we played against Venezuela, Panama, and then I forgot who else. And then when we went to Croatia, we actually traveled, because obviously the European countries are so close. We traveled to like Slovenia, I think Montenegro. I think we obviously played Croatia, so we went to different countries there, and then we went to Italy for a bit to visit. So we were in different places when we were in Europe, and when we were in Costa Rica, we just played against those countries down there too.
And so this is apart from the question, I just came up with this one. Do you guys support the Mexican national team? And can you answer this, Jesse? I don't. Careful. Do you support the Mexican national team or the USA national team? For soccer, let's say for soccer.
For me personally, I'm very biased towards Mexico. I'm Mexican, 100%. I love this country. I'm so happy I grew up here. I consider myself Mexican American, right. But if Mexico's playing US, I will always cheer for Mexico. But anything that Mexico's not playing in, let's go USA. For sure.
I like that.
And for me, I think up until that trip, my heart, I think, will always be with Mexico and everything. But I think up until that trip, and then seeing the recent years, how like I'm involved obviously in shaping the players that are going to play for the U.S. You know, like thinking about that and how involved I am now in that.
For futsal, man, we can separate them.
Well, for soccer too, in a way, you know, like there's a lot of
This is true.
there's a lot of players now that I've coached in futsal from ABK that are like now playing in U17, U18 national team. So like, I think that within the last recent years, you know, I've been like torn between, but now this last game, the last like 2 or 3 games where the U.S. has beat Mexico, and I see that.
Because of the winner?
Not because of the win. And I told Fabian this the other day. I think just seeing those players now that are coming from the system, and like I'm a part of that system.
Right.
I'm a part of we're a part of shaping this next generation. Like, you know, it's still I'm torn in between, but now I would
it's
say
scary watching USA move right now, man.
Yeah.
They're doing some things.
Yeah. So I mean, when they play each other, it's tough because again, my family's Mexican, and growing up, like that's just been my subconscious. Like, it has to be Mexico. But I don't know. I'm like torn between. But I think I would, if they played right now, I would want the U.S. to win. I would want the U.S. to win.
Hey, tacos over burgers?
No.
Come on, man.
Burgers over tacos?
Oh, no. Tacos over burgers.
Tacos over burgers, then Mexico over here.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. 'Cause I've always grown up like a Mexico fan. Like that was my dad. Like I don't know if I had a choice really.
Right.
Yeah.
But and it's like I don't even want to be anti-USA, but I'm like I don't like seeing them being successful. But I'm trying to change that. Like.
And I guess that's how I look at it. Yeah, that's how I would say.
And it's the same thing with like being a Barcelona fan. Like I'm trying not to be so much of like an anti-Real Madrid, because man, like you watch like Sergio Ramos is one of my favorite players, like ex-captain now, but. You know, Marcelo or Luka Modric, I'm trying not to be such a hater on like a club and like have it bias all these other things. But Jesse, you share a birthday with a few people.
Oh yeah.
Who's that?
Neymar, Cristiano Ronaldo, Carlos Tevez.
Carlos Tevez too?
Carlos Tevez.
I didn't know about that one.
Adnan Januzaj. I think he plays for Sociedad now. I think those are the big. I think there was another pro player that I'm forgetting, but Neymar and Ronaldo I know for sure. And then
Neymar and Ronaldo, man, that's crazy. So I wrote it down. But yeah, 95 is Jesse Zamudio.
Yeah.
I think Neymar was talking about how he shared one with you. 92 for Neymar, and then 85 for Cristiano. I wanted to talk about tattoos as well. You guys have a few tattoos. I have a few tattoos. Growing up as a Mexican, any funny stories on that? What did your parents think?
¿Te vas a poner una falda? Is that what you're saying? No?
Nah, me, I got my first one when I was 18, and it was actually at my mom had a stand at the Mega Mall, and there was a tattoo parlor there, and she took me. So
you got
my
cool
my mom didn't really trip.
Dang,
she
I didn't
obviously,
know that.
when I got my first sleeve, this one, came home and she was like, what the fuck kind of thing. But after that, I mean, she's always kind of respected me and my decisions in a way.
Do you want to explain one of your tattoos? And I'm gonna ask you the same, Jess.
One, I'll explain one, but that goes in kind of as a whole. So I have the Brazil flag, Italy flag, Mexico flag, and Norway flag.
Norway?
Yeah, and that's because that's where all my closest friends are from.
Yeah.
So I think that one's really cool. And then I think the other one that's cool is my daughter. She wrote her name here on her own, and I just have like little words that she used to not be able to say when she was little.
That's cool, man. Dope. Jess?
And then I have 3. I have, I think this one. I always said, like, when I was younger, I don't know, I made this up. I'd say I live by 3 F's. Family, faith, and football. I mean, when I was younger, I was thinking about, like, something that I can get, and I thought 3 F's would obviously look dumb. So I just looked up different symbols to get, and I think this one's probably the one that sticks with me the most.
Dope. Jesse, you started this school of futsal. Tell me about what it is, what your goal is with it.
Yeah, so I mean, it basically it started with obviously Fabian and I. We've been on these trips together recently with USYF and going to like evaluate these players at Kansas City and the national trials they have down there. And then it started from like me and Fabian, I think, wanting to do something more than just ABK and just here. So we recently, decided to sit down and talk about launching something bigger than that, and School of Futsal came to be. And it's going to be different components. I mean, we're still working on it as we speak here. One of the components is going to be coaching education, where Fabian and I travel to different clubs, different places around the country, and we try to help clubs or coaches who don't know about futsal or whatever it may be just get established. And more than anything, teach the Latican style. Fabian loves to talk about the Latican style, so teach them the type of style.
I think he created that word.
Yeah, he did.
Latican style.
Latino and American, right? Latino and American, that's what it is. And I think, so that's like one component of it. And the other component is also running camps, running clinics, if you want to call it. We just want to do different camps. I mean, especially with futsal, obviously specific to futsal, with really, really high-level futsal players. I would like to say that Fabian and I are one of the coaches, along with Lito, that know futsal the most in this country. I mean, obviously there's coaches all over the world, but especially in Michigan. And I think we want to run camps, clinics that are different from what anyone runs around the country, because they do it with soccer, but I don't see it happening with futsal, So there's that, and then we also want to do like a personal training branch where we develop these coaches to teach players, because private trainings, you see it all the time, same thing with soccer, but you don't see it as much with futsal. And I think within the last couple of years, it's gotten to be there a little bit more. Players are really starting to love futsal, especially at a really young age, and players want to do more personal training with futsal. So I think developing that branch too.
Yeah, I know. So I talked to Fabio Mendez, who is like one of the OGs when it came to futsal. Like, I used to play futsal with him with Flying Kick, and then Fabian kind of came into that same circle. But when he first came to the States, like, that was his idea. Like, he didn't even want to start a club. He just wanted to like teach other people how to play soccer. Because back in the day, like, I don't know, maybe like around 90, he was just going around to soccer clubs and like teaching them how to play soccer, and like super dope. Yeah. So yeah, I guess we got to wrap things up here pretty quickly. I wanted to ask you guys about, well, this is just a comparison. I think of the West Michigan futsal world as like Fabian kind of being Johan Cruyff, and then you got Guardiola here, and maybe Xavi. What do you guys think about that? And I know you guys get the comparison because it's like a Barcelona, but I just see that like the next one's coming, like the Mark 1, 2, 3 type thing. Yeah, and I think it's gonna keep going.
Agreed.
Who knows who's gonna be the fourth?
Yeah,
right.
There's a few out there, man. So yeah, last question. We'll wrap it up. Jesse, you gave me a pretty lame answer for the movie question. You said, and this guy, like, I know Jesse goes to the movies like by himself. And I asked him what his favorite movie was. He said, I have too many. I love movies. So I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's tough.
I need your favorite movie. Or just, a recommendation for the folks out there, something.
People have probably never watched this movie. I don't know why I think about this movie so much.
You had one, man.
Wait, like, I do, but it's called Radio. I don't know if you've ever heard of Radio. Have you watched Radio before? Yeah, I think Radio, because to me, like, life is just about helping people who, like, they need something. And I think like that movie is about that guy helping Radio, who's a person with disabilities, and giving him something bigger to look towards in life. And like that's what I'm all about in life, helping other people and
a vehicle.
And giving other people a purpose, or helping them find their purpose. So I think like Radio sticks with me probably.
There you go, man. See, was that hard? All right, guys. See, we kind of went over the time limit there, but. Thanks for being here, guys. Thanks you guys for sitting down, having a little chat about West Michigan futsal, soccer, Ole soccer. But yeah, we'll be doing more interviews like this, all the players on the team, as well as Mr. Fabian Rodriguez. Mr. Brown Dizzy. So yeah, stay tuned. We got some more videos coming. We'll do some more cool interviews.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having us.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
You about to be late.
I know, really.
You ain't gonna get no booster, dog.
Que booster ni que nada.